In the middle of a lively medieval town, where the streets buzz with excitement and lanterns glow like stars, the local tavern is bursting with life. Inside, the chatter of patrons and the clinking of mugs mix together in a symphony of celebration. It's one of those nights where everyone seems to be in a great mood, especially one particular cadet who just got accepted into Applia Academy. With a loud thud, a mug hits the table, and the young man stands up, raising his tankard like a victorious hero. "Tonight, drinks are on me. I got into Applia Academy," he shouts, his grin so wide it could split his face. Naturally, the place erupts into cheers because, let's be real, no one's going to turn down free drinks. Getting into Applia Academy is no small feat, so the guy's riding high on pride and excitement. His friends are all too happy to join in, raising their mugs and toasting to his future. The air is filled with laughter, and for a moment, it feels like nothing could ruin the night, except, of course, the hooded man sitting quietly in the corner. "I won't go easy on you if you don't drink," he teases, his tone dripping with bravado. The room laughs along with him, the bartender even giving a chuckle as he wipes down mugs. But the hooded man? He stays as still and calm as ever, quietly sipping his drink, completely unfazed by the cadet's taunts. It's clear he's not here to make friends, and he's definitely not here to get pulled into someone else's party. The night wears on, and the drinks keep flowing. But as the ale levels rise, so do the cadet's frustrations. He's elbow to elbow with the hooded figure now, clearly annoyed that his earlier attempt to bring the guy into the fun was met with nothing but silence. "Damn you. Move," the cadet growls, slamming his mug down in frustration. "Sit further down. Don't you know who I am?" Ego, inflated by his academy acceptance and fueled by liquid courage, he's not about to let anyone disrespect him, especially not some stranger in a cloak. The hooded figure, however, remains as cool as ice. He doesn't even bother to look up. One of the cadet's friends, already sensing where this is heading, quickly steps in. "Hey! Leave it alone," he says, trying to defuse the situation before it spirals out of control. For a moment, it looks like the cadet might really blow up, but instead, he leans back with a grin, smugness dripping from his every word. "I'll let it pass today, since I'm in a good mood," he declares, as if sparing the hooded figure from some kind of wrath. As the night wore on, the cadet, still on his post-acceptance high, decided it was time to share some juicy news. Leaning in dramatically toward his group, he lowered his voice like he was about to reveal the town's biggest secret. "By the way, have you heard?" he asked, with all the mystery of a bad spy movie. One of his friends, already halfway through his next mug, raised an eyebrow. "Heard what?" "The hero's party," the cadet practically shouted, clearly not grasping the concept of subtlety. He took a big gulp of ale like it was a dramatic pause and continued, "They cleaved through the front of the Demon Lord's army again. Can you believe that? We have to talk about it." He was so into his own storytelling that he completely missed the fact that the hooded guy next to him had gone completely silent, which, to be fair, wasn't all that different from how he'd been the entire night. The cadet, now fully immersed in his grand storytelling, slammed his mug down and leaned in as if about to drop some major news. "The chosen hero, Kyle," he declared with the enthusiasm of someone who'd just seen his favorite celebrity. His friends nodded along, caught up in the drama, while the hooded figure beside him remained, as usual, unbothered. "And then," the cadet continued, "there's Lemia, the divine archer, and even Saint Sarah." His eyes widened in awe as if merely mentioning their names brought the legendary group to life. His friends were now fully invested, hanging on to every word. "Wasn't there one more member?" one of them asked, scratching his head. "Another member," one voice wondered aloud, eyes fixed on the figure. "The Ashen Wizard, Raniel Vaughn Trias," someone explained, as if announcing a famous name, but the voices that followed carried less awe. "Isn't he just on a free ride?" someone whispered, sounding unimpressed. "For being heir of the Grey Magic Tower, honestly, he does nothing." Raniel sat in silence, unaware, or perhaps unconcerned, by the whispers swirling around him. "You sound like a know-it-all," one voice chided, dripping with sarcasm. "But it's a fact that Kyle's the one doing the most, isn't it?" the response came, defensive and sure, the voice replied, their tone laced with dry humor. The Ashen Wizard is in charge of dealing with the small fry, after all. And so, the quiet tavern continued its murmur of judgments, leaving Raniel, once again, around the subtle jabs directed at him. The day before, the battlefield was chaos, an explosion of debris and magic filling the air as the heroes charged forward. Kyle, leading the charge, grit his teeth, sword raised high as his comrades fought beside him. Behind him, his party, mages and warriors alike, unleashed their powers against the onslaught of enemies. A soldier's voice broke through the clamor, filled with relief and awe. The hero's party. They came to help us. Another soldier, desperate but relieved, shouted to his comrades, everyone, back down. We'll retreat slowly. As the soldiers started to fall back, they left the battlefield in the capable hands of the hero's party, watching as Kyle and his team fearlessly pushed forward into the storm of battle. In the heat of battle, hero Kyle Thorben makes a powerful entrance, his boots hitting the ground with enough force to make it seem like even the dirt should be afraid. His comrades stand with him, Lemia, the fierce divine archer, and Sarah, the ever-serious saint. Together, they cut a dramatic figure against the backdrop of chaos. Lemia, however, is less than thrilled. This isn't what they told us, she exclaims, her face twisted in frustration. There's, like, 3 times the enemies. This will never end. Saint Sarah, not exactly the beacon of positivity herself, chimes in with an eye roll. Can't Kyle just wipe them away already? Because obviously, when in doubt, pass the buck to the guy with the biggest sword. As the battle rages on, Kyle assesses the situation. I can't, he mutters to himself, frustrated. If I attack, the royal army will get caught in the crossfire. For now, let's pull back and, suddenly, a calm yet commanding voice cuts through his thoughts. Oi! Move! Kyle barely has time to register the interruption before Raniel von Trias, the Ashen Wizard, steps in, sending a shockwave of magical energy forward with a flick of his hand. In a whirlwind of icy blasts and explosive power, Raniel shows exactly why his title isn't just for show. Without breaking a sweat, he annihilates the swarm of enemies that Kyle had been debating how to handle. The battlefield trembles in response to the sheer force of his magic, leaving everyone, including Kyle, staring in disbelief. For someone supposedly on a free ride, Raniel just casually flexed on the entire battlefield. Raniel shifts into overdrive, pulling off moves that leave even his teammates stunned. Multicasting? Spell nesting? Lemia mutters, her eyebrows practically flying off her face. Did he already take care of the ones in the back? Saint Sarah narrows her eyes, clearly unimpressed but still mystified. Even though he was late. What the hell is wrong with him? Raniel, focused and undeterred by their chatter, powers up his magic. Magic boost. Spell reinforce, his thoughts are methodical, calculated, like a master chef seasoning his spells to perfection. In a series of lightning-fast maneuvers, Raniel deploys capture with a wave of his hand, followed by a spell that explodes in a chain reaction, decimating the enemies in front of him. The battlefield becomes a light show of magical dominance, all orchestrated by the one they once called the freeloader. Now, even the doubters in the group are left in awe as Raniel single-handedly wipes out a massive chunk of the opposition, his power surging like an unstoppable force of nature. As the dust from the explosive magic settles, a soldier near the blast is starstruck. Wow! I wouldn't expect any less from Sir Kyle. He says, clearly unaware of who's really responsible for the massive explosion. Is anyone hurt? He asks, concern etched on his face. Another soldier chimes in, no one is. Everyone's safe. Meanwhile, the real cause of the explosion, Raniel, quietly steps forward with a cold determination in his eyes. A hulking skeletal warrior charges at Raniel with full force. Smash, the creature is immediately obliterated by Raniel's overwhelming magic. Well, he's at least useful, Lemia mutters, watching the spectacle unfold. But Saint Sarah cuts in, so what if he is? He acts like he's some sort of warrior. And he keeps butting in. Clearly, not everyone's impressed with Raniel's unique approach. Raniel, meanwhile, stands at the center of the magical carnage. He's a stock, one of his companions explains, he pre-prepares spells and carves their circuits into his body. This makes Raniel stand out on the front lines, where wizards typically don't belong. Exactly what part of that is a wizard, someone asks sarcastically. Lemia, still unimpressed, turns to Kyle to find agreement, but her eyes widen in surprise. You think so too, right Kyle, eh? Kyle? She gasps, noticing Kyle already moving in, sword ready. Without even acknowledging the conversation, Raniel prepares his spell with intense focus, lightning sparking around him as he channels his power into the attack. Chain, he declares as magical symbols light up around him, forming a powerful connection of energy. Meanwhile, Kyle rushes forward with single-minded determination, the chaos of the battlefield swirling around him. Kyle! Raniel shouts, seeing his teammate charge in. The giant skeletal warrior looms ahead, an imposing figure crackling with dark energy. With a fierce battle cry of "Hiya!" Kyle leaps into the air, sword raised high, ready to strike. Electricity courses through the air as Kyle's blade comes down, aiming to obliterate the massive enemy in one powerful blow. The battlefield, already shaken by Raniel's magic, is about to witness an earth-shattering strike from the hero himself. As the scene shifts to a festive atmosphere, the crowd erupts, chanting, "Kyle," like he's the true hero of the land. Confetti rains down, and the whole town is buzzing with excitement. People rush to share the news. Did you hear? The hero Kyle landed the finishing blow, one villager says, clearly having missed the entire rest of the battle. That's Hero Kyle for you, another cheers. Raniel, looking awkward and out of place, walks through the crowd like someone who just happened to stumble into a victory parade that wasn't meant for him. Meanwhile, his teammates walking ahead of him, he watches the misunderstanding unfold with a mix of amusement and annoyance. Later, when they finally escape the noise, Raniel, still focused, casually asks, "So, where's the next fight?" Like this was just another day at the office. Kyle suddenly stops in his tracks, turning to face Raniel. "Let's stop this," he says seriously, catching everyone off guard. Raniel, confused, responds, "Wait, what?" Kyle, without missing a beat, continues, "You don't fit with us." His tone is blunt and to the point, leaving Raniel wondering what's coming next. For us, defeating the Demon Lord is about bringing peace, and having justice prevail. Kyle explains, his words heavy with meaning while outside the window, the townsfolk are still partying like it's a carnival. But for you, defeating him is just another achievement. His defeat is just another notch on your belt. When I see you take our honor so lightly, I feel sick. Kyle adds. That's why, Raniel, Kyle's words hang in the air, full of dramatics. Raniel stands there, caught off guard by the sudden accusation, blinking in surprise. He was just asking where the next battle was. Now it feels like he's in the middle of a philosophical lecture. Kyle's words hang heavy, "I want you out of my party." Suddenly, the scene shifts to the present moment. Raniel is forcefully thrown out of his seat, crashing into a pile of crates outside the tavern. The wooden debris clatters around him as he struggles to get up. "Man, he's pissing me off," the Aplia student grumbles angrily from inside, his voice dripping with irritation. Raniel barely gathers his senses, now covered in dirt and splinters. The Aplia student continues his rant, "Why the hell are you sitting next to me and drinking like we're chums?" he spits, clearly enraged. "Did you want to get along with a great student from Aplia?" A bystander adds with a smirk, "He's dressed like a battle mage," mocking Raniel's appearance. Their laughter fills the street, but Raniel simply brushes off the dirt, the echoes of Kyle's rejection still louder than anything else. One guy muttered under his breath, "So were his superiors, then." "Hey, what ya staring at me for?" Raniel, still brooding under his hood, quietly mumbled, he says it's my fault. Huh. Shut up with that babbling, the other guy snapped, clearly irritated. Raniel kept going, his voice low, that I always mess things up, and they have to clean up my mess. That we're aiming for different things. Someone else tossed something at Raniel. Eat this, it'll wake you right up. Did you go mad? The other mumbled, can we use magic on a civilian before joining the academy? Meanwhile, Raniel was still deep in thought. Of course, there were days I also thought I overdid it, but come on, I'm not that bad. Raniel suddenly spoke up louder, who stopped the dragon from destroying the village when those guys accidentally touched its tomb. The group whispered, what's happening? He's coming over. One guy, growing annoyed, barked, what do you want, you idiot? Raniel's voice grew stronger as he stepped forward, who saved them when they were about to be slaughtered after rushing headfirst into the demon lord's castle. Who bought them time when they had to decapitate the black dragon, one of the 4 heavenly kings. As blue flames flickered in his hand, he added, are you saying those were all small fry? Raniel was on fire, literally and figuratively. His frustration hit a peak as he glared at the group. And above all that, he growled, his voice rising, when those guys ran away with their tails between their legs as soon as they encountered the Demon King, he stepped forward, flames swirling around him. I was the one who gave them time to flee by sacrificing half of my lifespan. The others stared, wide-eyed and in disbelief. They go around always looking for easy fights, Raniel continued, now summoning a magical projection of the very party he was referring to. They just got tired of me still trying to defeat the Demon Lord. One guy, in shock, stammered, wait, that face, no way. Another one snorted, hey, why were you scared of a hobo? Raniel's glare deepened. He raised his hand with a snap, declaring, I'm the one who doesn't want to be part of this, assholes. The scene shifted as Raniel found himself at the present. He clutched his head, clearly in pain. His master's voice rang out, idiot, your thoughts were elsewhere again. Raniel groaned, ugh. I was recalling how I got into this body. His master nodded, almost amused. You were surprised too, weren't you, master? Well yes, who wouldn't be, the older man replied. My only disciple turned up looking like that. The master looked down at Raniel, his eyes serious. Raniel, he said with a calm but firm voice, Raniel, standing amidst the blossoming cherry trees, replied, yes, master. You won't be called that anymore once you walk through that door, the master continued, his gaze unwavering. Rania van Trias. Raniel, now Rania, paused, taking in her new name. The change was significant, and it weighed on her. You'll be treated as an assistant professor at Aplia Academy, the master added, giving her a new role to embrace. Rania looked thoughtful, contemplating her future. Are you prepared for your second life? The master asked, his question hanging in the air. Rania's eyes narrowed, focusing on her next chapter. My second life. She whispered, ready to face the path ahead. As Rania reflected on her past, the memories came flooding back. I was only fighting against the Demon Lord's army for 5 years. She thought, her mind replaying the endless battles. Images of fierce monsters and relentless enemies flashed before her eyes, but now, things were different. But I still find this peaceful situation awkward, she admitted to herself. Her past as a warrior was far behind her, but the memories lingered. Well, of course I would, she thought with a sense of finality, looking at the epic battles of the past now behind her. She tried to let go of those memories. Let's forget it already, she whispered, forcing a smile. Her new life as an assistant professor at Aplia Academy awaited her. Is there even anything to prepare? She asked herself, almost rhetorically. She looked out over the beautiful scene at the academy. This is enough, she said aloud, content with her new path. She smiled, full of confidence now. Since I already quit the hero's party, she concluded, her voice determined.